I call the honourable member Shane Ardern.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to rise and
You're
speak
welcome.
in favour of the Airports Cost Recovery Bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill has had a reasonably long gestation period, but there are fairly good reasons for that, and I perhaps should highlight some of those and not go over all of the issues that the Minister has already canvassed, but perhaps a little bit of a background to why it came about. The airports of both Hamilton, which is in my electorate, and Palmerston North, in my colleague, or nearby my colleague, just to my left here, Mr McKelvey's electorate, were international airports in New Zealand. And they had carriers, international carriers, that were flying in and out of there. And those carriers decided, for commercial reasons, I presume, that they no longer wanted to visit those airports. And of course, to be international airports, they had to maintain all of the biosecurity, all of the civil aviation security services and customs services. And of course, that carried with it, I guess, an enormous cost to the state. And obviously, it was a waste of money if those airports weren't going to become international airports again, or weren't going to become international airports for some time into the future. And at the same time as that was happening, because of the very good work of the national government, Mr Speaker, because of the excellent work of the national government, substantial investment was going into new technology for both biosecurity and for customs. In fact, the merging of some of that technology. And of course, what that would have meant is those airports would then need to upgrade to the new systems, new X-ray equipment, new types of surveillance, etc. And there was a lot of potential expense in that as well. So the motive, if you like, for a cost recovery program was for if a airport, regardless of where they may be, and there are others that have suggested they may like to become international airports, Rotorua, for example, Invercargill, another one my colleague mentions, then obviously the airport themselves, in the decision, in the commercial decision, whether or not to do that, would need to be involved in some of those substantial potential costs to the Crown. And further, every time that does happen, if that investment is not made to a level that it should be, then obviously we expose ourselves to further biosecurity risk. And as the Minister quite rightly pointed out, and other speakers have touched on it, biosecurity is a major threat to the New Zealand economy. I heard the previous speaker, Darian Fenton, say the Auditor General identified $30 million. Well, I think it may have been $30 billion. It's more like $30 million a day, the likely cost of a foot and mouth outbreak, for example. So it is something that would actually devastate the New Zealand economy. It reinforces, as the Minister of Primary Industry said, and Biosecurity said, the importance of our primary sector to the New Zealand economy, but it also reinforces the vulnerability of the sector to something getting across the border that could have that type of devastating effect. So the main provisions of the bill, as the Minister pointed out, are to cost recover in the areas of aviation security, biosecurity and customs. And, Mr Speaker, on the basis that these issues have to be addressed we're using the best technologies, the best systems and the best surveillance, Mr Speaker, I think that this is a very sound measure brought forward, obviously, by a very competent minister and a very sound government in this fight against biosecurity and other airport or other border type issues. So, Mr Speaker, I totally support the passage of this bill. Thank you.
I recognise the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Thank you.